Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to officially call this work session meeting of the Mayor and Council to order. At this time, I would ask everyone to please rise for a moment of silent prayer and reflection as we think about the victims, the families, and the first responders in this morning's shooting in Louisville, Kentucky. Please salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please note the fire exits behind you into the parking lot, and to my left, to your right, into the main hallway, and behind council chambers. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend any meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this act, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Milford have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Borough Hall, and notices have been sent to the Record and the Ridgewood News. The mission of this governing body is to provide essential services through the establishment and implementation of public policy that will safeguard infrastructure, provide fair, honest, courteous, and professional services, establish a sense of trust and accomplishment between all residents, and through research and prudent planning seek to minimize risk while improving our services. We are sensitive to the needs and satisfaction of our taxpayers, while realizing that this governing body cannot be all things to all people, within the revenue constraints imposed by state mandates, economic conditions, and prevailing attitudes about taxation. At this time, I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilwoman Sanders. Here. Councilwoman Shockley Hilly. Present. Council President Duffy. Here. Councilman Gotts. Here. Councilman Seymour.
Here.
Councilwoman Grant. Here. Mayor Pacheco.
Here. And let the record reflect that the borough's auditor, Stephen Wilcox, is present today as well. Okay, under unfinished business, may I get an approval of the minutes from the March 27, 2023 public and closed session meetings?
So, second.
All in favor? Okay. Any opposed? One abstention. We have been, first ordinance up for adoption tonight is 2023:17, and when the clerk has the opportunity, I'd ask you to please read the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 7 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of Milford entitled Traffic, thereby amending subsection 7-3.3 entitled Parking Prohibited All Times on Certain Streets, subsection 7-3.5 entitled Exceptions to Overnight Parking Regulations, subsection 7-3.6 entitled Parking Prohibited Certain Hours for Certain Street Cleaning and Snow Removal, and subsection 7-6.2 entitled Stop Intersections.
Okay, this amends multiple sections of our traffic ordinance, restricts parking at certain times on certain streets, and adds stop signs to 3 intersections. 3 intersections getting stop signs will be Lumen Drive southbound. Stop sign to be installed on the northwest corner of Lumen Drive and the intersection of Bolger Avenue. The second one is stop sign to be installed on the southeast corner of Congress Street at the intersection of Bolger Avenue. And the stop sign to be installed at the northwest corner of Congress Street at the intersection of East Woodland Road. At this time, I would ask for a motion to open up to the public for a public hearing on this ordinance.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ladies and gentlemen of the public, if anyone has any questions about this traffic ordinance, now is the opportunity. Seeing that there are no questions from the public on this ordinance, I would ask for a motion to close to the public.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I get a motion to adopt this ordinance on its final reading?
Second.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Sanders. Yes. Councilwoman Shockley Hurley. Yes. Council President Duffy. Yes. Councilman Gotts. Yes. Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Councilwoman Grant. Yes.
Yes, I want to thank the Milford Police Department Traffic Division for continually to analyze our streets and roads in town to make pedestrian and vehicular safety a priority in our town. The second ordinance up for adoption tonight is 2023:18, And when the clerk has the opportunity, I would ask you to please read the ordinance.
An ordinance authorizing an emergency appropriation, NJS 40A:4-53.
This is to authorize appropriation of $55,000 for the preparation of a tax map that we need for our borough's upcoming reevaluation. May I get a motion to open to the public for a public hearing on this ordinance?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ladies and gentlemen of the public, if anyone has any questions about this ordinance, now is the opportunity. Seeing that there is no member of the public that wishes to comment on this ordinance, I ask for a motion to close the public.
Motion to close to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I get a motion to adopt this ordinance on its final reading?
So moved. Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Samuelson. Yes. Councilwoman Starkey Hurley. Yes. Council President Duffy. Yes. Councilman Grodzki. Yes. Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Councilwoman Graham. Yes.
Under new business, we have a Earth Day proclamation. Office of the Mayor proclamation. Whereas all species play a unique role in the complex web of life and contribute to the ecosystem services in which life on Earth depends, and hence protecting our species is crucial to the survival of this planet and its inhabitants. And whereas wild animal populations have declined on average by more than half, and the Earth is facing an era of mass extinction. And whereas the loss of species is for the most part a result of human activity, including degradation of ecosystems, deforestation, pollution, and climate change. And whereas by 2050, between 60 and 70% of all people will live in cities, and species provide important services to the city dwellers, such as generating oxygen and purifying the air, controlling other animals considered pests or that spread diseases, pollinating plants and crops, providing recreation opportunities and well-being. And whereas many plants, wild animals, and pollinators live in urbanized landscapes, and cities thereby have a responsibility to examine the ecological impacts of expanding urban areas and how to protect biodiversity. And whereas it is understood that sustainability will only be achieved by meeting the needs of the present without compromising the needs of the future generations. And whereas it is more important than ever to cooperate locally and internationally to defend the environmental progress that has been heretofore gained. And whereas it is essential to expand and diversify the global environmental movement and to achieve maximum progress. And whereas Earth Day is an annual reminder of the constant need for environmental activism, stewardship, commitments, and sustainability efforts. Now therefore I, Michael Petrino, Mayor of the Borough of Milford, have the distinct honor of proclaiming April 22nd, 2023 as Earth Day throughout the Borough of Milford, and encourage all of its citizens, businesses, and institutions to use Earth Day to celebrate the Earth and promote the protection of our species. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is appointments. Before we start the appointments, the appointment for John DePiri for Rent Leveling Board, I'm going to table until the next meeting. I want an opportunity to meet with him. So at this time, I would ask for a motion to appoint Scott Stormer, Glenn Murata, and Jake Johnson to the Junior Fire Department.
Thank you, Mayor. So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations and thank you very much for helping to protect life and property in our borough. May I get a motion to appoint Brad Lucas to the Environmental and Energy Commission Alternate 2 position?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations and thank you very much, Mr. Lucas, for wanting to serve. We have an ordinance introduction. 2023:19, and when the clerk has the opportunity, I ask her to please read the ordinance.
Calendar year 2023 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriations limit and to establish a cap bank, NJSA 40A:45.14.
This authorizes an increase in the annual budget from 2.5% that exceeds the appropriation limits and establishes a cap bank at 3.5%. May I get a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading?
Motion. Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilwoman Samuelson. Yes. Councilwoman Rocky Hurley.
Yes.
Council President Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Grodzki.
Yes.
Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Councilwoman Graham.
Yes.
The public hearing on this ordinance will be at our April 24th meeting. At this time, I'm going to ask our auditor, Mr. Steve Wilcox, to come to the microphone and talk about our municipal budget.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight you have for introduction the 2023 budget. It's not been a good year for anybody. With inflation, with the double-digit increases in garbage and health benefits, there's nowhere to go except raise taxes. Now, when we started, we were probably double what we ended up at. We still have American Rescue Plan money that we're using. We're using a little bit more surplus, and we're using some of the money we got from the ambulance corps, which dissolved and turned over most of the money that they had to the borough a couple weeks ago. So the tax impact on about a $330,000 average assessment for municipal taxes is $197. And I went back and looked at the last 5 years. We averaged $52 a year over the last 5 years. Again, small increases that were justified based on, again, pension and benefits and salaries going up. But we did a very good job of mitigating that using the federal money and controlling other costs. I mean, the one thing I'll point out is that with all these increases in these specific appropriations, all the other appropriations, the things you control, are $122,000 less than last year. So, I mean, you've gone in, you've done your job, you cut where you could cut. It's not going to impact services. We've never done that. But this is a year where you're going to be reading all around the county and the counties and the state where the garbage, pension, health benefits, salary increases, utilities, it eats up everything in the budget. So it's to be introduced tonight. The public hearing is on May 22nd. It'll be advertised in the paper. The public will have a chance to come and say whatever they want to say, and then hopefully we can adopt the budget and move forward. I have the same conversation like every day. It's unprecedented times. You know, you do some projects, you borrow short-term money. The rate a year ago was 0.25%, now it's 4%. So there's certain things that the economy is throwing everybody that you just, and you can't do something that's just going to help this year, and then you're just going to have a different, bigger problem next year. So this governing body, this finance committee, has always been very good at making choices in terms of how they construct the budget, what they use in surplus, and we're going through that process again this year. And with that, any questions from the governing body?
No, I was going to echo what you said. You know, I talk to mayors all the time, and you're right, everyone's in kind of the same boat. It's unfortunate. I mean, when you see garbage increase $303,000,
and it's getting even. It all is the towns that had contracts before the pandemic that went through the pandemic are getting hammered, like double, the costs are doubling. And the contractors are like, yeah, I picked up double the garbage, paid double the tipping fees, worked twice as hard, and got the same money, so I deserve to help myself to your money. Which, right, wrong, or indifferent, I mean, I don't have to expound on the garbage industry in North Jersey or New Jersey or in New York, or certainly wouldn't want to disparage any specific organization or people, but you go out to bid, you get one bid, that's the number, take it or leave it. So, maybe the state should do something about that. But I digress.
Yeah, no, it's just unfortunate with the increases. I don't think anyone's happy about it, but as you mentioned, our average has been around $52, and I think that shows that, we've never really been where we overtaxed residents. We've always, when there's money, we always tax it.
And we're always patient, pushing off introducing the budget by a month so that something good happened, which happened this year again. It happened in 20 with the CARES Act. It happened in 21 with the American Rescue Plan. So, again, patience in this particular situation is definitely a virtue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, and the Budget Committee and the CFO and Chris doing an excellent job. You're right, this was a lot worse.
It's going to be nice.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Thank you. So may I get a motion to introduce the 2023 municipal budget, which is 2023:104? Get the ordinance or no? But may I get a motion to introduce?
Second.
Make it roll.
Yes. Councilwoman Zander. Yes. Councilwoman Saraki. Yes. Council President Duffy. Yes. Councilman Grodzki. Yes. Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Councilwoman Graham.
Yes. Public hearing on this ordinance will be at our May 22nd meeting, and notice is hereby given that the budget and tax resolution was approved by the council members of the Borough of Milford, County of Bergen, on April 10th, 2023. The hearing on the budget and tax resolution will be held at the municipal building in this room on May 22nd, 2023 at 7 o'clock p.m., at which time and place objections to said budget and tax resolution for the year 2023 may be presented by taxpayers or other interested persons. She did. Thank you. Okay, item number 1, outdoor smoking administration.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. This topic came up late last year. It was suggested that the council may want to consider it by health officer, also known as Steve Wilcox, but he said that they had adopted a similar ordinance in Fort Lee, and he thought it might be of interest to Mayor and Council because Fort Lee was recognized for taking this position. So I provided everybody with a copy of the Fort Lee ordinance and a copy of our current ordinance that refers to outdoor cafes. And at the time that I had circulated it in fall, there was interest among the council about wanting to discuss it. And so at that point in the year, when we kind of put up in the beginning of the year, we had time to do that.
Does anybody want to open up with some comments? Did everyone just got this tonight?
Yes. Well, it was out in the email.
Correct.
These are just, they sent it in an email last week.
Can we review what is on our books? Is there anything on our books relating to this? Not at the moment. There's no smoking indoors. Right.
Indoors is regulated, outdoors is not regulated. And part of the complication is the outdoor cafe ordinance has been preempted by the state statute permitting outdoor dining, which will sunset, I believe, at the end of November 24. And the local governments can regulate to a certain extent, but you can't prohibit what's been allowed by the legislature. We have the outdoor dining. It's not, I don't know if it's part of it at the moment.
No, it's not. I mean, that was this is our copy of our outdoor cafe.
No, I'm just referencing the
Oh, the outdoor dining? Oh, yeah, we didn't touch that.
outdoor dining. I don't think we've addressed it. The noise ordinance controls, that's incorporated, which just doesn't exist in the borough, so it hasn't been incorporated into our outdoor dining permit due to COVID-19. But ultimately, this was something that was suggested by the health officer. And assuming outdoor dining sunsets as it's anticipated it will, at the end of 2024, you then have your outdoor cafe ordinance that's still in place that permits it under certain circumstances. And the question is, do you want to amend that similar to Fort Lee, which did it in 2015, by the way?
Well, it seems to me that secondhand smoke has been proven to be dangerous, as well as the odor of the smoke is obnoxious, whether it's indoors or outdoors, because you can't control it. The smoke goes outdoors either. So I would not be opposed to this.
I think also most of our outdoor dining areas are actually right on sidewalks or immediately next to public areas.
Do people walk by frequently?
Yeah.
And the discussion, I have to say, at the Board of Health meetings regarding this is similar to what both of you have just said. I mean, our task at that board is to oversee public health. And as any of you could read, the Surgeon General says. So I'm totally for adding this to our books and looking into after what would happen after 24, to see how we would keep that in place.
Well, you could amend your outdoor cafe ordinance now, similar to what was done in Fort Lee, but you can implement it with just an amendment to the regulations regarding outdoor dining. So once that sunsets out, you can then take, it would just continue in the outdoor cafe ordinance.
It would be automatically.
But you'd be amending the outdoor cafe ordinance at this time. Yeah.
Okay.
And you could also deal with it in the regulations or the rules and regulations regarding the COVID-19 permits that have been issued for since 2020, last 3 years.
I think it's an excellent safety measure.
To be clear, Kevin, we can just do an amendment now. It's just a simple amendment to our outdoor dining now, but if we don't want to do an amendment, we can do an ordinance that would change everything going forward.
The ordinance would apply for outdoor dining now, and it would continue on once that outdoor dining sunsets.
Correct. There's two things going on. You have the outdoor dining pursuant to COVID, which we're allowed to regulate. We'd be amending our rules and regulations of the borough. In other words, the council would do that. But the only other outdoor dining that you permit, assuming COVID exception, that statute doesn't exist, would be the outdoor cafe. And for example, Poncho's has an outdoor cafe, Bell and Brew has one, and they've each been granted it pursuant to the ordinance prior to COVID. Casual event as well. So this would just be amending that. That still exists. It's still in the books. But the state statute liberalized it.
I know that it's in series.
Theirs is an outdoor dining pursuant to COVID-19. That's why they have the 10.
I also know a lot of people go outside down there to smoke. They have cigars and all sort of kind of stuff.
I don't know what they have. They'd have to take a look at it and deal with it.
So do we have any kind of limitation that you're saying outdoor cafe to the quantity, number of guests? Since you're saying Zanzani's, he has an outside tent.
We're talking apples and oranges right now. The outdoor cafes are subject to the conditional use standards. And their limit is basically by the size. They have to keep a clear area, minimum 4 feet shall be maintained. And I think this is subject, since it's conditional use, it has to go to the zoning board of adjustment. So that's the cafe, that's what you've already, have been doing since 2016, when this was adopted. The outdoor tents that are up, for lack of a better term, I don't know the limitation off the top of my head. I'd have to look at it, but there was a combination whether you could exceed the indoor, and then that was subsequently preempted by the state statute. So at one point they were limited to the same amount of people indoors as outdoors, and that has since been altered by the statute. And I don't know what the actual number is at this point, or what the formula is.
I don't think there is a number or formula.
And I think it will be extended after 24.
But that regulation is outside of our control at the borough level.
Do you want me to ask that and put on the next agenda?
No, yeah, I mean, we can put in that for contract, they're going to come in into our outdoor
Put it
cafe.
on the next agenda?
Yes, my only concern is if you have like a separate area where you could go and smoke, would this be not allowing it? Or do you
Yes.
have something in there where you could have something where you could just smoke?
Well, that's a good question, and this is part of the outdoor cafe ordinance. So it would presumably be within that cafe, but I don't know if people have designated smoking areas elsewhere. And if you want to address that, then we'd have to do something other than just amend the outdoor cafe. For example, if they have a special smoking table somewhere in the parking lot, I don't know, that's just a hypothetical.
Well, for example, what St. Cyril's does is out on their, gazebo, I think, they'll have smoking there. And I know that a lot of people go there for cigars and they have to get drinks, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not in the actual eating area where people eat.
It's also not a part of the cafe.
Yeah, I don't know whether they should say part of their cafe, or even if they have an outdoor cafe. I don't know that they do, because I think their whole thing was done since COVID.
Okay, yeah. I just want to make sure that an establishment like that doesn't get dinged for people who want to go there for that particular reason.
Well, it's certainly a valid concern, and we can try to address that, particularly since it may be existing at this point. If that's the pleasure of the governing bodies, if you don't have to do this, if this is the pleasure, we could work on it and try and come up with something that addresses all those concerns. I think Chris and I just need direction.
Well, I do share some of Councilman Grosky's desire for additional knowledge on the impact on businesses.
Yeah, well, I think you guys are going to draft something, right? And we'll put it on the next agenda. Good. And we'll look at it from the beginning, of course. Okay, item number 2 is schedule updates. Saturday, April 22nd will be the tree seedling giveaway, sponsored by Clean Communities and Shade Tree Commission. It will be from 10 to 1 p.m. at the New Milford DPW, and there is no rain date. On Sunday, May 7th, will be the time capsule burial, sponsored by the New Milford 100th Anniversary Committee. It will start at 11 a.m. and it will take place right here on the Borough Hall lawn next to the gazebo. And on Monday, May 29th, is New Milford's annual Memorial Day Parade. It's sponsored by the New Milford Public Events Committee. It starts at 9 a.m. The lineup is at River and Chiquino, and there is no rain date. Is there any other borough events that I failed to mention? Which one? Oh, Lily Parade. That is the 15th, Matt, right? It is the 15th. It starts at May 15th? April 15th.
I think around that. double check.
We have to on our website.
It is on the
It's on the website. Little League and softball is a joint parade. It will be on April 15th. They line up at the Armenian School, and they will march south on River Road and go to the Kennedy Field Sports Complex. Let me just check in the time.
9:30.
9:30 a.m. And for anyone who doesn't know, we have a brand new website, remodeled, and it's a lot easier to find information. So put that That's all I have on events. We're going to move on to the administrative report.
I have a very short report tonight. The deadline to change party affiliation prior to the June 6th primary election is this Wednesday, April 12th. The bid opening for the Graphic Boulevard traffic signal is scheduled for Thursday, April 13th, with the award of the project expected on April 24th. And our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 24th.
Okay. Any questions for the administrator? Resolutions, has everyone had a chance to look at them? Is there any that need to be pulled for further conversation and or vote? Oh, and our closed session tonight is going to be postponed. So there will be no closed session tonight. Before we open to the public, we go around the table and give one or two highlights. Let's start with Council President Duff.
Thank you, Mayor, and welcome back. Thank you. Phil was quiet and fabulous. Well,
It was in good hands.
Okay. I did attend the pancake breakfast for the Milford Athletic Community High School, and I was impressed with how our recreation department was able to pivot from complete washout of the Easter egg hunt to inviting everybody in to come and get their treasures and whatnot. So that was a nice event. I also attended a meeting at the fire company too, where our congressman came by to take a look at some of our vehicles that we have now. He and his staff have been encouraging us to continue to apply for grant money to the federal grants gurus, and they are offering their assistance and suggestions to any of our grants that we will be applying for going forward. So that was a very good meeting. I would also like to read that the Milford Volunteer Fire Department wants our community to come and see what serving your community is all about. Stop in at Company 1, that would be 249 Center Street, Tuesday nights at 7:30, or Company 2, 680 Trenton Street, Thursday nights at 7:30. Please stop in and ask questions and take a tour and see what it's all about. So that's my report.
Thank you. Let's go to Councilwoman Grant.
Thank you, Mayor. Local residents Bob Nessoff and Howard Cohen gave a talk about their recently published book on Bergen County history. They did this at the library and then donated a copy of their book to the library. It was actually very well received event. There were quite a few people there, and it was very enjoyable. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sanders.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the opportunity to attend an event hosted by the Oradell Council in Arts Bergen to raise awareness for the flood awareness. So they hosted a community workshop where area residents shared their stories and created quilt squares for a public artwork entitled Flood Theater that is going to be created by artist Juliak. The final project will be displayed by the Oradell train station, and I had an opportunity to meet a number of our residents and hear some very moving stories. It was a nice event that they hosted.
Thank you. Councilman Seymour.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just echo what Council President Duffy said. I also have the privilege of attending the pancake breakfast and the Easter egg hunt, which the Recreation Department did a fabulous job of improvising and bringing inside the Milford High School. And I also had the privilege of attending, or joining, I should say, Congressman Gottheimer, the fire company too, and show our appreciation for his continued support for our fire department and all our first responders. And although not early, I'm happy to report, Mayor, that our domestic violence symposium, our spring iteration around Milford College, was also well attended and successful.
Thank you.
And that's my opinion.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sorokin-Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. So I know I've discussed this in the past few months in regards to the cemetery, and Bob Carpenter, who's a preservationist and is well known in his field, will be coming to town and discussing it. So the date for that is the week before Mother's Day, which I believe is May 3rd, at 1 o'clock. It'll be at the cemetery, and he's going to show us what's interesting that he found about the cemetery is that a lot of these tombstones are handmade, which he feels were made by the residents. So he's going to discuss the tombstones, how he's preserving them, and some of the residents that live here in town. So it could be interesting if you like to read cemeteries and look at tombstones.
Those are my little bit.
History. Well, Bob Carpenter is a very interesting man and very talented.
Yes, he is.
And accomplished.
Been all over the world,
So that date is confirmed.
as I was told this morning, yes, May 3rd, a week before Mother's Day. That's a Wednesday? And whatever is the and that's a week before candidates. So Mother's Day is May 13th.
No, for me. Mother's Day is the 14th. It's a Sunday.
Okay.
So then that is
It was Saturday. So it was Saturday.
I think it's
13th. Right. At 1 o'clock.
So it's May 13th you're talking about?
Yes, May 13th.
I blew out an email today. I didn't see it. Yeah, from Nancy.
Yeah, that was, I spoke to her.
Day before Mother's Day. It's a nice farm.
Yes.
Yeah, looks good.
Anything else?
That's about it. Everybody knows about the parade that we will be having. And also, so we have the Girl Scouts, as we did last year, parade, carry the, the posters of the residents, pardon me, that were in World War II, and we have streets named after them. So they will be on the posters of a picture and the name below, so you kind of recognize it, Farrer Drive, which is interesting. Somehow I'm interested in dead people.
Thank you.
Shade Tree Commission is very, very near completion of revamping the ordinance. It's an attorney review, just waiting to get that taken care of with our attorney. And hopefully within the next few meetings, it will be presented to the mayor and council for approval.
Thank you. That's what I have. Okay. So I was away last week, so on April 4th at 9 o'clock in the morning, I stood in the Milford High School marching band, marching down Main Street in Disney World. They were absolutely fantastic, and it was great to hear them over the loudspeaker.
Have video?
I have video, of course, especially the trumpet section. My daughter plays the trumpet, so she was there. Tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m., I will be attending the Bergen County League of Municipalities Mayor's Breakfast, and guest speaker will be Dr. Eric Friedman at Bergen Community College to talk about what's going on there and accreditation and all the good things that Bergen Community College is doing. And that's all that I have. Is there anything else that was missed? Well, if not, at this time, I would ask for a motion to open to the public.
Motion second.
All in favor? Aye. Ladies and gentlemen of the public, does anyone have any questions, comments regarding the Borough of Milford? Step on up. Seeing that there is no member of the public that wishes to speak, I would ask for a motion to close to the public.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? May I get a motion to approve resolutions 2023:105 through 2023:110?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Is there any other business before this council? If not, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everyone enjoyed their Easter and is enjoying Passover.
And